And you're welcome to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the show. We look at the big stories for the week as reported by various media outlets. When we come back, I'll take you through the stories that made headlines. To stay with us. So yeah, welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. Let me take you through some of the big stories for the week. We'll start with that to do with the sale of shares of SNIT in some hotels and how that story has sort of ended. I'll start with the Chronicle and how they captured that story. They say the calm after the storm. SNIT revokes Rock City's offer to buy La Palm and Labadi Beach hotels. The Ghanaian Times, organized labor calls off nationwide strike, gives SNIT 1 month ultimatum to address all outstanding issues. ChannelOneNews.com, SNIT hotel saga, I have no vendetta against Brian Champo, a black was speaking over there. And then finally on that story, still with ChannelOneNews.com, UTAG SNIT board top management must step down immediately. So that's the latest around the story to do with the processes by SNIT at the time to sell its stake in some hotels. We'll move away from that. We'll go to some story that also developed this week, or actually started over the weekend and has been running for a bit. And let's see the latest around it, having to do with the road traffic LI and matters arising from that story. The Ghanaian Times captured it this way: local government minister withdraws controversial road traffic LI. Daily Analyst, NDC MPs propose siren privileges are not Dompré fires. CityNewsroom.com, there's no LI before Parliament to allow MPs use sirens, exceed speed limit. This is Backman speaking. ChannelOneNews.com, Apia Kubi defends amendment to allow MPs use sirens, exceed speed limits. So those are some of the stories around that. We move away from that and we go to the alleged sale of lands by government officials. Let's start with the Daily Guide on that story. It says, Lands Ministry exposes a Blackwa over sale of state lands. The Chronicle says, Jinapo, NDC government sold lands Okujeto has exposed. And then finally on that story, CityNewsroom.com, government not selling state lands to cronies. Abu Jinapo speaking over there. We'll move away from that and we'll go to the story around the latest Auditor General's report. And let's give you some angles on that. Republic Press says Auditor General uncovers 2 million Ghana cedi overpayments to school feeding caterers. Daily Analyst, 3 million condoms missing, Auditor General after delivery man. ChannelOneNews.com, school feeding caterers 7 pupils moldy and wholesome food, AG report. And finally on that story, CityNewsroom.com, over 800,000 Ghana cedis out of 1 million Ghana cedis from sale of school feeding application forms missing. That's according to the report. We move away from that, we'll go to our final story having to do with some impact of Galamsey on road construction. And we'll go to Daily Graphic. They say Accra Kumasi Road, Galamsey impedes 3 bypass constructions. Those are some of the big stories for this week. When we come back, I'll introduce to you my guest and then we'll delve into the story. Stay with us. So you're welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Today I'm here with Selim Adanu, who is also here with us at Channel One TV as well as City FM. Selim, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
And then I also have with me Samuel. We are also here with us at ChannelOne TV and City FM. Sami, welcome.
Vivian.
Right, hello. So we'll start with the SNIT matter. The latest to do with that is that SNIT has revoked the sale to Rock City Hotel. Organized Labour has called off its strike, but it has given SNIT up to 1 month to deal with the issues to do with the investments in these hotels proper. And also some of the unions calling for management as well as the board of SNIT, i.e. UTAC, to step down. Let me start with you, Sami, on the issue of the revocation of the process to sell some 60% stake in SNIT. I mean, the people protested, the unions. I've not seen unions come together, you know, to push their way through in demands to ensure that what they wanted was stopped. I think the whole thing got worse when we all heard the employment minister in parliament saying that they were going ahead, and the Labour people said they were not even told about it, and they triggered so much. You know, what's your response to what we saw in terms of how Labour came together, and then how we saw social media also going, you know, crazy with all that happened to have their way?
I feel the people won. The people won in the sense that the Labour unions representing majority of the citizens of Ghana won that fight. They started it from day one. They were against this wholesale, and for them to even threaten that they were going to embark on a strike nationwide, which was going to bring the entire country to a halt. In my study as journalism, that would be the first time I'll witness all the unions in this country together, united front, announcing a strike. And that means that the whole country would have been on the halt, more or less, like nothing was going to happen in this country. A total shutdown of the Ghanaian economy. The last time we saw such a thing was during the COVID. So that one was triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic. But this one is not COVID. It's a different ball game altogether. And it was pretty exciting to see all the unions, statement after statement. And I remember Umar Rusanda and I on Eyewitness News reading all the statements from all the unions, and there was close to 18 unions, you know, announcing their decision to withdraw their service. Even the doctors and nurses giving a time frame and a timetable when they were going to, you know, withdraw their services. Government had no choice but to intervene, and the Rock City, which was involved in this whole thing, also had no choice than to withdraw this particular bid, because I'm not sure they want to sacrifice their company for the entire country just because you want to purchase, you know, 4 sets of hotels. The whole country should come to a halt. It's more or less like you buying it and then you don't more or less get customers to patronize, you know, your business. So it was a wise decision on their part to withdraw from this whole bidding process, so at least peace will prevail within there. The unions also came out to announce that they are giving, you know, SNIT a whole month to engage stakeholders on how best they can, you know, streamline their activities. It comes on the back of the ILO report, which says that in some years to come, SNIT may not even get money to pay.
That has actually been dismissed by SDG.
It has several times, but when you speak to the unions, they still make reference to this. And we believe that the unions know more than us. And they have said that for them, they are not really bothered, but it's for us who are the young folks who are coming, maybe 20 years or 30 years to come, if care is not taken, some investments SNIT, you know, is making or are making, may not yield the needed support to pay pensions in the country. And their claims are sometimes justified, because we know some investments SNIT has made across the country, real estate, hotels, everything, and the investment that is supposed to come out of this, we are not seeing them. I had one of the union chairpersons announce or list a number of investments SNIT has, you know, engaged in, and there's zero profit from all these investments. And then you ask yourself, what went in the decision in investing in such a venture?
But the unions, I'm told there are about 4 representatives on the board. And when SNIT is making these investments, or with this in mind, mentioning all this, what discussions go in during these board meetings that we have to get to this point?
There are 4 of them. I think the Senate board is close to 12 or 13,
yes.
if my math is right. Now, if it comes to voting, and there's a clear majority against the minority, obviously the decision will be taken on the side of the majority. So even though there are 4 members of the board, they can make their case, they can put out their concerns and grievances. But if the board or the decision decides to go to a vote, and there's voting, and they are or they may be on the minority side, there's little they can do. I heard Dr. Isaac Bampo, the president of CLOSAC, when this whole issue came out, and the same question was posed to him that, Labour has 4 representation on the board of Senate. And the response was that, fine, they will go there to table their concerns from what the unions are saying. But if the management of Senate, the board, which is, the main controller of Senate, decides to do otherwise, they will make their case all right. But if the decision of the board is to still go ahead with whatever they want to do, there's little.
But they never spoke publicly against what Till Ablakwa started making.
Yes, a lot of people didn't even know about this until Okudzato Ablakwa, the member of parliament, came out with this. It wasn't that people began to ask that. So really, what's the role of members of Senate on this? Is it that it wasn't a collective decision? Yeah. And even if it wasn't a collective decision, wouldn't you have come out to speak? But sometimes on these boards, you swear an oath. That there are some things, it's like the way ministers swear this oath of secrecy and the rest. There are some decisions which are taken at the board level, they can't come out. You can speak to your mother union, right?
So they should have been the mother union to speak for them. They don't have to speak.
As to whether they spoke to them or they did not, we don't really know. Because the mother union has not really come out to speak to us on these matters. So for me, it was a win for the people, for all workers, and it was a wise decision on the part of Rock City to withdraw from this whole purchase. I've heard Dr. Brian Echampo say that they may come in again some time back, but as to when exactly,
to the same thing,
perhaps in a different way, perhaps in a different way. So
before I bring Selom in, I want to ask you 2 questions. One around Brian. I know you because of your role as in being the presidential correspondent, you move around the presidency a lot. When all these were happening, they went to see the president, and he set up a committee to look at including the employment minister. But before we got to this point where all the unions, decided they were going to strike against it, didn't they see it coming? And the initial threats, did they not think it will get to this point? And how is Brian, taking all this after what has happened?
I've had an opportunity to speak to, not to him, but people close to him. And the response they give is that he's okay. He's not much bothered about it. He was trying to invest in a venture, and if the owners of the venture believe that they don't want his bid, he's okay with it. At least he has other investments he may want to concentrate on this. For the intelligence, I'm reliably informed that the presidency would have intervened if Rock City would still go ahead with it, and if the unions had gone ahead with a strike even a day or 2, the Jubilee House would have intervened and asked that the whole deal be abrogated. And so when Rock City came out, and then the Senate management came out with a statement that indeed they are no more interested in this, that's the information I picked, that then the Jubilee House wasn't going to intervene again because the Senate board and Rock City...
Didn't they wait too long?
I feel so, because I know on several occasions the president met the board of Senate, met Rock City, and then the Labour minister to discuss these matters extensively, even before the unions were invited into the conversation the last time. So for them to sit down for it to reach this particular level, it gives people a worry that why would you sit down and wait for this? Or perhaps they thought that the unions would just go ahead with their threats, but they're not implemented. But at least they show them something small and realize that if you joke with unions, the whole country will collapse. And we're at the verge of it. We are at the verge of it. It was a good intervention on the part of Rock City and then the Senate board to say that no, we are not going ahead with this again. But then the other counter argument a lot of people also make is that even would there have been the same reaction if it was a foreign company acquiring these things? Those questions have also come up on a number of occasions. That they cite an example of Golden Tulip Hotel. It was acquired by new owners, I think Libyans or Moroccans, But then there was no agitation in respect of that. Would it have been a different thing if it was a foreign company that was going to acquire these shares in these hotels? That question is still hanging. We are not seeing
I
the
think that
responses.
the problem or the issue, was the fact that the stakes were being sold to a politically exposed person. So I'm not sure if it was another Ghanaian business that wasn't politically exposed. We would have seen what the protests we saw.
I feel the same sentiment as well. I have thought that, okay, if it was a different entity that was doing this, I'm not sure we're going to get the addition, but because of the exposure of the individual involved, a minister of state, an MP on the ticket of the government in power or the party, that's why these agitations have come in.
Okay, let's bring in Selom. He's been quiet for too long because I've not invited him into the conversation. But Selom, welcome.
Thank you.
You've seen the developments we saw from the weekend all the way to Monday, and then things changed. I was just trying to find out why government waited for so long for this to blow up in their faces and now go around and beg the people to back down. But my other problem with organized labor was after Smith said they had cancelled everything, they still went ahead to continue with, the strike.
Well, I think when you lead a group or you lead an institution, a group like labor or an association, a number of things happen. So if you agree to some timelines or roadmap, or you agree to take some decisions, and later, I mean, you embark on that process or that path, and then there's a change somewhere, I think what they normally do, or what the standard is, that you go back to the table with the people you took the decision with and tell them that these are the intervening factors, this is what we wanted, this is what has happened. Do we continue? Do we back down? What do we do? So this letter from SNIT came, was it very late on Friday night, right? Very late on
2 letters.
Okay, very late on Friday night. And Friday night, people had closed and gone home. Not everybody uses a smartphone. Not everybody receives emails. Not everybody is on social media. So you can't ordinarily expect that these people would have seen it. And do they see it via social media? No. They wrote to you specifically telling you that this is what we will do if you don't do this. You waited until you realized that their threat was real, late in the night when men went to sleep. Then you sent, you wrote a statement.
First unsigned.
You write to who? To the public? But it's not, it wasn't a public, threat per se. I don't know if you know what I mean. It was a specific group, labor, organized labor, that made a threat on behalf of the public. So you address them, all right? So you don't just issue a statement. It's good for informational purposes, but it doesn't deal with the root of the issue. So the people say, well, you've not written to them. They've also seen the letters. How sure are they that the letter came from you? So they go suspend the strike, and then they say, no, we didn't write the letter. We don't even know where the letter is from. Then they come back and say, okay, we are back on strike. It wouldn't have portrayed them as serious people. And indeed, you have to address, they wrote to you. So you address them, you write back to them. And it was a weekend. Maybe they couldn't take decisions or convene over the weekend. Monday was a logical thing. It was good Monday happened so that the ruling class will know that we have not lost everything as people. The people power we talk about hasn't been lost entirely, even though people may argue that people generally have been compromised by the ruling class. So I think it was a good thing. It was a good show of force, a good show of power. Whether what Labour wanted is the right thing to do or not is another discussion. Whether what SNIT wanted to do was the right thing to do or not is also another discussion. But what is important is that it has shown the ruling class and whoever becomes the ruling class later that the people are still alive and the people will move if you push them to the wall. It didn't make sense to me. I mean, we sat around this table and we said, no, the president must speak. The president must step in. The president has stepped into even very trivial things, very, small things which are not of any major importance. You don't leave this hanging till the last minute. It could only mean that the president, to some extent, acquiesced to what was happening, because the president could step in, even not publicly. The president could pull a few strings behind and get things sorted. You don't wait till, and you look at what MPRA did. MPRA, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, came in to say, okay, suspend everything, give me documents to see. Public, we all applauded them. Then now, minister comes to Parliament, and minister says that MPRA has given the go-ahead. When did the MPRA give the go-ahead? MPRA came to us in a letter or in a statement calling for ceasefire, more or less.
Yeah.
And now you, minister, you come and tell us in Parliament that MPRA has given the go-ahead. When was that? We don't know. So I'm sure that angered the people. The people felt taken for granted, and so they had to revolt. And if you look at the chain reaction therefrom, it showed everybody who was watching, everybody that was serious, that we're headed for something very, very catastrophic if things hadn't happened the way they did. So MPRA speak now, minister goes to Parliament, you know, to say MPRA is giving a go-ahead, blah, blah, blah. Then Organised Labour quickly convenes and takes a decision, announces it, and from that time, you saw the statements that kept coming. From unions you didn't even know were in existence. Everybody started coming. You know, quickly, Rock City wrote that they were no more interested in it. And then later, we saw SNIT also talking, etc., etc. We shouldn't have gotten here. I think sometimes the ruling class wants to test the people. They've been testing the people for a while. One day they may not be able to, they won't be successful.
Or maybe they don't know how serious the issues are at every given point.
Well, then if that is it, then we are in trouble.
Yeah,
because, you know, the leadership must understand what the feeling of the people on the ground is at every time. So once you misread that, then it means that you've lost touch and we are in trouble. If this thing, which was all over, national security could not pick it up, nobody could pick it up, the people who briefed the president could not pick it up, then what are we to be missing? Because this was all over. And we all knew where this was going. And we waited till the threat began to materialize before we acted. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Now, calls for the board and management to step down. Is it far-fetched?
Well, I don't think it will happen. That's number one. I don't think it will happen. Is it far-fetched? Well,
you know, initially with the sale of the stake and then calls for it to be abrogated, people say, well, they don't think it will happen. But when the people said,
when the people, yes, but you see, the momentum is not the same. The impetus is not the same. So if they're able to marshal the power, the forces, the emotions they marshaled in getting this done, then it will happen. But it will be difficult to garner such emotions, to recruit or enlist such emotions of people for a dissolution of the board. People don't even understand it. People will say, oh, the main thing we wanted was the halt in the sale. And that has happened. So what again? Let's just move on. Typically, that's how Ghanaians will behave. So in terms of calling for the dissolution of the board, I think it's something which should have just happened. The people on the board themselves should have resigned. Or the persons who appointed the members of the board should have done the right thing by dissolving the board, or maybe reshuffling its representatives on the board. SNIT itself, if it claims that it did not SNIT, Labour itself, if it claims that it did not know about this transaction when the thing started in 2017 or 2018, then there's a problem with their representatives on the board. 4 people, what were they doing? And so it calls into question what the reporting system is. Do you go for board meeting, just go and take allowances, etc., eat lunch, drink expensive drinks, and come home? Do you read the minutes? What do you do? You've been placed there for a reason. You have 4. The money is our money. It's our money we've contributed. SNIT's job is to invest the money, hold it in trust for us, ensure that when we go on pension, we have some money. And you have been brought there directly as people who watch over our money. Of course, we are all workers, SNIT people to our workers, their money is also there. But you have been put there as organized labor or from organized labor. You should be more interested in what happens. And so you don't tell me that you were outvoted, and so that's the end. If you are, what did you tell your principals? What did you tell the TUC boss? What did you tell your people? And to the TUC or organized labor themselves, is there an avenue where they receive reports from persons they have placed on boards? They are on many boards. So what is the reporting line? How do they interact with those people? Or is it that they just place them there as a reward? Because some boards are very lucrative. You are on the board, you have fat envelopes every time you go for meeting, Christmas occasions, you have fat envelopes and things. Is that a reward? If that is, then we are in trouble. But if SNE doesn't have, Labour doesn't have a way of taking periodic reports or even emergency reports from its representatives on boards, then we are in trouble. So I was not swayed by the argument that they were outvoted. They could have been outvoted, and even now they were outvoted. But when the matters came up,
yeah.
we dealt with it.
They had their way, yeah.
So it means somebody clearly was sleeping on the job.
Yeah.
Either they reported it in their normal reports and nobody read it, or nobody took it, somebody didn't take it seriously, and we need to find that person and ask the person questions, or they just went to sleep and just passed documents from the board or wherever to their bosses. There should be a way of writing reports, especially when the matters at hand have to directly deal with investment, sale of such properties, etc. The next question then is Labour right? Yes, we were all angry, politician buying property, etc., or politician's company. But what is the way forward?
Yeah.
What is the way forward,
because
really?
We still need
the
to
people
deal
say they
with
cannot
the
manage
thing,
the hotels. So do we leave the hotels to rot? Or do we float them on the stock exchange? Will people even buy shares in them? How do we deal with it? We need to come to that. So there are times that the chobo helps. Okay? But beyond the choboism, we should have cool heads to decide what happens. What happens? They say they cannot run the place. They say they cannot run it. Why they cannot run it, I don't know.
But
we need to find a way.
And that is also
TVC
questionable.
Giving them a month notice
to solve that
address
problem.
and streamline all these
The people
things.
say they can't manage it. They can't manage it. So what do we do? Do we say that they should just change management? And so once they change manager, we expect that.
But if they've been able to get one of them,
and the other
Labadi
question
Beach
too
managed.
the other question too is, why are some of the hotels not performing?
Yeah.
Is it the location? Is it the business model? What is it? So you see, in this country, we don't like to do the hard work. The hard work is for SNIT to put themselves in a room, lock themselves up in a room, and brainstorm. What is the problem? Why is Labadi doing well? Why is La Palm not doing well? Why is Ridge Royale doing well or not doing well? Why is Elmina Beach doing well or not doing well? Think through it. And they have the expertise to do so. A lot of them have schooled in some of the best schools in the world. And this is the time they have to do that. This is why they went to school. So if you cannot solve, and the easiest solution is to sell it. Everybody can sell it. Everybody can sell. If the thing is not okay, let me sell it to my friend. Everybody can do that.
The easiest way out.
Lock yourselves in a room. They like to go to expensive hotels and places for retreats. Find one of those places. Lock yourselves up in a room over a weekend. Brainstorm. If you need an expert to help you brainstorm, do that. Come out with solutions. Why is Labadi Beach working well? Generating profit or making money. Why is La Palm not working? Is it a business model? Is it a location? What is it? Is it that the management is weak? Is it that people come, they don't pay? What is the problem? There should be a problem. You can't tell me there should be a problem. So once you identify the problem, then now you can solve it. You don't tell me that you will sell it. It's an easy way of doing it. Selling it should become the very, very last resort. And if you say you've been pumping in money, it's not been working, why hasn't it been working? Because the notion out there is that if it's a government property or public property or state property, you run it down and you sell it cheap to your people. That is the notion out there. Yeah. And largely true, sometimes not true. But we run things down and then we sell them cheaply to our cronies or our people. Is that what is happening? Let's find out what it is. But yes, Labour is done well. I don't know whether to say we have won or not. Yes, you would have won the first victory. But the harder question then is, what do we do to those hotels? Because they must be profitable. Why are they not profitable? I can't understand why they are not profitable. They must be profitable. Given, because if they sell it to a private person, what would a private person be doing that will make it profitable?
Yeah, the other people they bring in.
What would a private person be doing that will make it profitable? When you employ people there, they come to work late, they are inefficient. You fire them, you deal with them like the private person will deal with them. And you see, Ghanaians are wise. If they see that you are loose, they will play loose with you.
Yeah.
If they know that, no, this place, when I come to work late, they will sack me, or I'll go on suspension for 2 weeks and I will not have my salary, my full salary, I will do the right thing. And that's why when Ghanaians go outside, they work very hard and they make money. Yeah. Why can't we do that? So, I mean, I don't get it. Snake should sit up.
I'll take final comment on you.
Well, the call for the board to be, the board to be dissolving. The calls are not many enough. The pressure is, apart from UTAG, which has come out to say that the board should be dissolved. I've not heard the other unions also pushing the same angle, like the push for the sale not to happen. I'm sure if we get the other boards, the other unions to also push for the dissolution of the board, I'm very sure that is going to happen. But then the counter argument is that why should the board be dissolved for just one bad decision? We only know of this particular one. We don't know of the other good decisions the board might have taken that has made SNIT better or stronger. Those ones we do not know. But because of a sale of a hotel which went bad, a bodge deal, because of one bad decision.
A bad one can overshadow all your good. That's what life is about.
Yes, but then we live in a country where
if you've been the most good person and you kill somebody, that's it.
I agree with you 100%. But let's put ourselves in the Ghanaian context. We've seen several times when ministers, officials have done something bad and they've been consciously, you must resign yourself, but they still stay on. After several calls, you still get these people. It's the same sentiment that repeats itself in boards and management of companies. If the people at the top are refusing to resign or refusing to, go down for a bad decision, why should a board do that for just one bad decision? So you think
by now management of SNIT and then the board should have even stepped down?
Yes, but it's never going to happen. And the force and the push and the pressure from the unions, which will make them take that decision, is not coming. Apart from UTAG, we've not heard any of the unions also push for that particular decision. Maybe after the 1 month, as the mother, which is organized labor, has given, I'm sure that conversation will begin to come up.
After the 1 month, we'll move on.
Well, we'll see that
something else will come engage our attention and we'll move on.
We'll see how that goes. So 1 month, we're in the first week of that 1 month. We'll see how it ends. Okay, guys, let's move to another one where also it got a lot of agitations from the public leading to it being halted, having to do with the road traffic LI. On that one. Salam, let me start with you on that one because your area of coverage, which is the judiciary, was part of the people that were going to enjoy from this siren thing. They want to get there in their own time when they give us the time to get there.
Well, so again, it is public anger, public uproar against a decision by the ruling class. So when decisions, I mean, the judiciary has its own problem, right? Problems. But this is, I'm not sure this is one of the decisions, one of the problems of the judiciary, or the problem the judiciary should be worried about. For example, how many judges, is judges of the Supreme Court? There are just about 15 people using sirens in town. I'm not sure will cause any problem. And people don't see judges in that light. People see judges in a different light, positive or negative. But they don't see judges as they see politicians, right? So when the public anger in this manner, comes up, the issue about judges is not properly featured. It is about politicians properly so-called. Because the thinking is that you come to us to beg us to give you our votes. We give you the votes and now you disrespect us. You do as you please. You don't listen to us. The judiciary doesn't suffer from that. So that's the thing. So what were they seeking to do? We are a country of laws. So there's a Road Traffic Act. And the Road Traffic Act becomes a parent legislation. And in order to give meaning or to operationalize the parent legislation, there is what we call the subsidiary legislation. In this case, the LI, the legislative instrument, which will help operationalize the parent legislation. So, for example, vehicles must be registered. That's what the Parent Act will say. But the regulations, which is the LI, will detail out how the registration should be done and tries to operationalize. That's how it is. So now, per Article 11, which deals with the hierarchy of laws, we have regulations. And regulations are passed a bit differently from parent legislation or acts of parliament. So when a legislation, when an LI, for example, is to be passed, I mean, it's presented or laid before parliament, and it stays there for 21 sitting days. After the 21 sitting days, it matures into law. That's how it works. You know, parliament cannot do much about it. Parliament can only reject it wholly or accept it. Parliament cannot edit or amend it, as it were. So if there may be 15 regulations in there and you have a problem with one, you cannot do anything about that one. You either accept everything or you reject everything. Yeah. And even in rejecting it, you need a certain threshold of about 2/3 or so to be able to do so. Now, Parliament itself, in trying to go around that constitutional hurdle, now introduce what they call the pre-laying processes or something. So the pre-laying processes, they want to say that the thing hasn't been laid yet, so you can touch it. So it is in the pre-laying process that they are able to tweak things, deal with the mother ministry that brought it or the agency that brought it, to tweak things here and there to make it acceptable to everybody. That is why they have the subsidiary legislation committee. So now what they say is that the matter came to the subsidiary legislation committee, and they realized that it was a comprehensive amendment they were bringing, but there were portions of it which had other things. So they felt that because other arms of government were enjoying or going to, quote unquote, be beneficiaries of one or two things, why not the legislative arm of government? Because if the judiciary, for example, is being catered for, quote unquote, and the executive is being catered for, what stops the legislature from being catered for? That's the argument. I think to some extent it makes sense, because they are supposed to be
about
they are supposed to be three arms of government.
Yeah. So if you are sorting one out, sort everybody
and you are sorting two out, why are you leaving me out? So I think that was a discussion around it. And it's okay, why not add us to it? But I see what they failed to do. So what were they seeking to do? They were seeking to amend portions of the existing regulation or legislation, which prohibits people from using sirens. Very few people will use sirens. No. The president, the vice, I mean, very few people.
Ambulance.
All right, ambulance, the security, very few people. So they now sought to expand this so that a lot of people can use a siren. Of course, it stemmed from the war against indiscipline. Yeah. How city, together with the police, arrested some key personalities, etc., who had sirens and all of those things on their cars. Now they saw that they found that as an opportunity to go around that problem. So they inserted themselves in there. The other point was that once you use a siren, then you no more become subject to the speed limits. Yeah. So they deal with the issue of the speed limit in another amendment, so that now you can just drive, you know. But what they failed to understand was that the people in the country were angry. And you see, they had just come from the back of the Senate matter, even though this predated the Senate discussion. The Senate started in 2018 or 2017. But the matter coming to light, the Senate actually predated it. But the anger of the people just connected. So over the weekend, Senate, and then now we are hearing this. People you don't hear. The people are angry. When you see people in traffic, they are angry. Yeah. There's heat. They feel heat, and they are late, but they can't do much. They are afraid of what their bosses will say, whether the boss will sack them, and they are thinking a whole lot of things going through their minds. And when you see a V8 trying to weave its way through the traffic, you know, to go wherever they are going, and you see the anger in people's faces, if you knew all of that, you will not come and say you want to introduce this law. So I asked you to come and work for me. You came to beg. I allowed you to come. And now I am in traffic. I pay you to work for me. I am in traffic. You that I pay, you want to find a way around and go away. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to find a way to go around whatever once in a while. But trust me, they will abuse it. So we are in traffic, every 275 MPs plus ministers, sirens. Certain parts of Accra, you'll be hearing sirens every day, as if we are in the cemetery or the hospital.
Every day.
Because, I mean, so we are in traffic and you will just pass and go. Where are you going? Where are you going? You were voted to solve problems. One of the key problems we have in this country is traffic. And rush hour, the traffic is serious. People spend 2 to 3 hours in the mornings every single day in traffic. So your job is to think through the problem.
Solve that problem, but
that's why we sent you there. You don't
problem.
tell me that you want to take yourself out of the problem. How do you solve it? And the problem we have is a lot of our leaders are not in touch. They don't know what's happening on the ground. So when they are talking, they are out of touch. When did this whole discussion about toll booths, scrapping toll booths, etc., begin to come up? You recall that some time ago in Ashanti, Amakwata was from a funeral from somewhere, and he was in traffic because of a toll booth in one of the areas in Ashanti. He got so angry, and he said that the toll booths were an inconvenience to the people. I said, really? Are you now getting to know? It was because he had no way of maneuvering, and he had to join that traffic for 2 hours. So he was angry. When he came back to Accra, they started having a discussion about, removing the toll booths. That is what it should be. When they feel the problem, they think about how to solve it.
Think of the solution.
So if I don't even understand, you don't have to be in traffic, and the judge, where is he going? The judge will weave through traffic and go sit in the court and be waiting for the lawyers who are in traffic, or waiting for the parties who are in traffic. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't make sense. The parliamentarian, where is he going? Why they don't even go to parliament? And they say they are going to parliament, but now they'll be using it every time. Funerals, going to funerals on Saturday, every time they'll be using it. We don't have to allow our public officials to have that kind. They don't even get it. They should see what happened in Kenya. And the young people are getting angry every day. There are no jobs. Statistical services, 1.9 million Ghanaian young people are just idling about. They are not in school. They are not in any employment. They are not in any training. They are just walking about, and we don't see that to be a problem. The World Bank also said about 14% of our people are unemployed. We don't think that is a problem enough for us to sit and think about. We want to get free access through traffic. That's what we want to do. The same people who are idling about and are angry, they will come at us. And when they come at us, it will be difficult for us to survive.
Nothing will say
and we have to be careful. We just saw it in Kenya. We saw it in 2010 in the Arab Spring. When a young person, a hawker, got his goods seized by a policeman, set himself ablaze, and that began the Arab Spring. We need to be very careful, and politicians or the ruling class must be careful. They don't have to dare the people. If they are not in touch, they should be careful.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'll take a quick break. When I come, I'll allow Sammy to also...
No, there's more to say.
It's what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kailoko. I'm here with Sammy Riafi as well as Selim Adono. When we come back, we'll wrap up on the traffic LI and move to our next topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back. So welcome back to what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kailoko. I'm here with Selim Adono as well as Sammy Riafi. Sammy, let me give you a few minutes to touch on the road traffic LI and the matters that arose from that issue.
Well, I'm excited Ghanaians are beginning to have their say now on national issues. We saw the state now. There's been public anger in respect of this particular amendment that was proposed in Parliament. And then per the new amendment, this is what they were going to do. So these people or these individuals were going to be given opportunity to have sirens and no speed limits. So the head of state, which is already in existence, the vice president, the speaker of parliament, the chief justice, ministers of state, justices of the Supreme Court, members of parliament, the fire service, ambulance service, police service, armed forces, and the prison service. So these people, or this category of people, were those going to enjoy this new amendment from parliament. But then, even before, or even though we don't have this particular, we still see the abuses happening on our roads. Mm-hmm. Almost every day, you see these black V8s with tinted glasses trying to be smarter or faster than those of us who are...
Under the original law, is GRA part of it? To get to the siren thing and all that.
I haven't read original, but what I have here is the amended...
I have these GRA people. They are in V8. Two of them. They abuse it. I don't know where they are going to. Every morning. Anyway.
So GRA may put themselves under security.
Under security,
the customs.
Yeah.
Okay. The customs. So I don't know how they do it, but the custom bit is there, which is part of security.
Because they have their own dispatch. Okay. Their own dispatch is different.
This one doesn't have a dispatch in front of it.
But they use the normal siren.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know about that. Maybe I'll
a lot of people abuse it. A lot of people are. There are private persons who have fixed those things.
Yes.
And a lot of them came to light during the war against indiscipline. So it's just a general indiscipline. Now we want to normalize. So what will happen now is that we will have a lot of those vehicles now with MP stickers, like the way you see vehicles with stickers because of police. MP stickers, lawyer stickers, etc. But they will not be for MPs per se. But because the MP sticker will be on it and the siren is on, you let it pass. We will run into a situation where it will become like a market, a typical, rush hour traffic at a place could become like what's the name? It will become like a market with a lot of sirens, everybody trying to weave their way. It will be chaotic. We do not have to allow that. And I'm happy that with the speed of light, they have withdrawn the amendment. They should know that you don't disregard the people. When the people are not happy, you know how to deal with them or talk to them. It is not everything you take.
In respect to that submission, I've heard Apia Kubi, who spoke publicly on this matter, that you don't expect all the 275 MPs to use their vehicles at the same time. They may use them at different times. And so if the argument is that you hear, sirens almost at every time,
But the point of what Telom just said, even now we don't have everybody.
Yes.
But see what we're seeing.
We see the abuses on the road.
And people, remember why? We had people who had stickers of the presidency.
Yeah, office of the president.
Who were not working there. So like he's saying, all these things will pop up. And then he was saying that because of envy, because of that. I mean, really. Anyway.
People are envious of MPs. People are envious of who?
In his explanation,
that
some of it shows
they need to boost productivity, and
which productivity?
They need these things. But I heard that member of parliament was saying that there are three arms of government who are stated in this whole new proposal. There's the executive, which is the president, the vice, the chief justice, and Supreme Court judges, and they the members of parliament. Why is it that people are only angry at MPs? Is it because they are the low-hanging fruits? Is it that because when everybody wants to vent anger on politicians, the MP is the first target? His argument is that the MP's job is most important than any of the three arms of government.
Because they make laws.
That's his argument. Secondly, he says the counter-argument that MPs should leave home early. He said that Ghanaians people should just come to homes of members of parliament in the morning and see the long queues of constituents who have come in to see the MP one way or the other.
Who created that? They make promises to people, and now people want to have these things.
I'm just reiterating his argument.
When you go on the campaign trail, you make all sorts of promises. People will come to you for school fees and all that. So if early in the morning you have people lined up in your home to take school fees, medical bills, and for which reason you are running late, so you have to jump the traffic, I'm not sure that's a tenable excuse. That's
the argument he was making. And so if MPs are supposed to be in the House or Parliament, let's say 9 a.m., and because of the number of people or the scores of people in front of his gate, he can't just leave all of them and move out of the House to go to Parliament. All the time. He must look at all these individuals, and in the attempt to do that, they run late.
Okay.
And so the argument is that they need these sirens on their vehicles so at least they can catch up with activities in Parliament. That's the argument he was making. Secondly, his argument is that judges were mentioned, the Supreme Court judges. He says that why are people not attacking them, in quotes, not mentioning them, but then only members of Parliament are those in there? His argument is that the executives are also in there. Why are people not attacking them, but then it's only members of Parliament? Is it that the members of Parliament are the most vulnerable when it comes to all these things? Is it that the members of Parliament are the low-hanging fruit? So if anybody wants to punch any politician, it is the member of Parliament that they go to. He made a lot of arguments in respect of this. But for him, at the end of it, he said that, fine, if they decide to withdraw it, he's okay. They will still do what they do, still be in the queue. But if the opportunity comes and there's a way they can maneuver their way and get to Parliament, they will do that.
Okay. We'll have to wrap up. Our time is up. But let me take a few messages from our viewers. This one from Mausi in the Volta region. He says a proposed airline granting certain officials exemptions from speed limits and allowing unrestricted use of sirens is unacceptable. Such privileges create a dangerous environment on the roads, undermine the rule of law, and foster a culture of entitlement among the elite. All individuals must adhere to traffic regulations to ensure the safety and equality of all road users, irrespective of their status or position. This one from Ike in Bantama constituency says, I am glad organized labor came to the rescue of the Ghanaian worker. I look forward to the day the Ghanaian citizen will rise and demand for what is rightfully ours, devoid of political colors, you say. So we'll have to leave it here. Our time is up. Thank you very much, Salam Adonu. Thank you very much, Samir Wiafe. My name is Vivian Kai Loko. Thank you too for joining us. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye.